Good morning, everybody.
Morning, Karen.
Hey, good morning. This is Kevin.
Hi, Kevin. You look like you're in a cave. It's very dark. Oh, wait, it's my computer.
Just warming up too as I'll get somebody on in here. How's the sound check this morning?
Sound is good.
Wonderful. I'll put y'all on mute and just keep working here a little bit till it's time for the show.
Was there an outline or anything that we were supposed to get for this, or are we just going back over the original stuff, Karen?
I believe it's the same stuff.
Okay, thanks.
Kevin might be able to answer that better.
Kevin, was there anything additional that we needed to look at besides what we went over last week?
No, Lisa has a PowerPoint that we were going to work off of for the presentation, but that's it.
Very good. Okay. Morning, Walt. I think you're on mute.
I'll unmute there. Thank you very much. Good morning. How are you today?
Doing very well.
Hello, Kevin. Hello, Karen.
Good morning.
Good morning.
Morning, Jeff.
Good morning, Ann. How are you doing?
Outstanding. I hope you are.
Yeah, I just got through with a conversation with Karen Walter about the Western Union County Alliance stuff. So it was pretty good.
Excellent.
Yeah, let's see. Everybody's dark.
Trust me, Jeff, you don't want to see me this morning.
Oh, listen to this.
I just got in here about 5 minutes before I got on the call. I was taking the dog out and happened to step right over about a 2.5 foot copperhead that I had to go take
Oh
care
my
of. So
gosh.
it did nothing but frazzle me. So you're not going to see me today.
Wow.
They are out and about right now.
Well,
Did you
luckily-
kill it?
I did kill it on, it was, luckily the dog hadn't seen it yet. So I picked her up and got her in the house and then went back out and took care of it. So he was
Thank
mean.
Thank you.
Whew.
Let's see.
Where there's one, there's more than.
Yeah.
Well, we have a bunch of huge red-tailed hawks that linger around that area out there. So I'm guessing that they were out there. I want them to go ahead and just take care of all of them.
Please.
How are you, Miss Janice?
I'm good. I'm good.
All right.
But I'm with you. I'm staying dark. Just it works out better.
Absolutely.
It just works out better.
Oh, brother.
4 months after working at home, it's just kind of.
Well, I don't seem to do well with the versions of haircuts I've had recently either. Seems like nobody.
Who's had a haircut?
Well, I had one, but the person that normally cuts my hair isn't working. So then you take what you get, and I got it for sure. I'm like, okay, I should cut my own.
Now I want to see it.
Exactly.
Sorry. You might see it later. I got some extra vegetables probably I need to bring by in the next week or so.
Oh, please do. I made zucchini fries out of the last ones.
My sister tried the zucchini chips and she said they were good. I need to taste them.
It's good
Oh,
zucchini.
Don't forget, I'm going to have all those lovely eggplants since he ended up with 6 plants instead of 3. So
Oh, I won't forget.
No.
Don't you forget.
anybody else on here like eggplant?
Mm.
Yeah, that's the
Yeah.
problem.
Why do you
That's
have
the problem.
Why do you have 6 plants?
My uncle planted 3. The deer ate them down to nubs. So then he said, will you pick up some more plants? And I did. Well, those plants came back. So now we have 6 beautiful plants. And not everybody loves eggplant. And I'm not into wasting food,
Good morning.
Morning.
Morning. Are we expecting Mike?
If I recall, I thought Lisa had said that maybe no.
Yep.
Can y'all hear me?
Mike
Yeah.
cannot make it.
All right. If we're ready, I'm going to go ahead and hit the live button.
Okie dokie.
Live from New York.
It does feel like that. All right, Lisa, are you ready?
She's on mute.
Yeah.
Yep.
And Liz is ready.
Yes, I'm ready. Yes. Let me get I'm ready. I couldn't print my stuff up because I don't have a printer. Yes, I'm ready. Okay, go ahead.
Give me a second. I waited too long. I have to start over.
Oh, sorry.
That's okay. My fault.
Oh, you know what? I've got a beeper on my oven going. Hang on, let me
Go
turn
ahead.
it off.
I got some time.
Sorry, I got biscuits in the oven for the boys. Hang on. One's gone for a walk and the other's still asleep. Let me turn it on. Take them out. That was the criteria. I told Lisa, I said, I can be there on the 28th, but I'm going to be at the beach. So,
Works. That's the best way to do these meetings.
okay. Okay. All right.
Shoot.
What's the matter?
My screen, I just hit something and I can hear y'all, but I can't see anything. My screen just says Zoom.
We can
There we go. Now it's back.
Okay. Had to get my glasses.
Are you ready?
I'm ready.
Here
Let me take my breath. Go ahead.
Here we go.
Okay. Good morning. I am going to call to order our special town council meeting for our UDO on Tuesday, July 28th, 2020. And I will go through and have a quick call of council members present. Jeff Perryman,
Here.
Ann Pruitt,
here.
Janice Probst,
Here.
Mike Smith. Okay, Mike Smith is not present. We do have a quorum with 3 members. Councilman Smith is not present today. I will look for a motion to adopt our agenda.
So moved.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Pruitt?
Aye.
Pruitt? Good,
Aye.
very good. Okay, so I will turn this over to Kevin, who will be going through some of the changes that they propose for our residential process within this UDO.
Good morning, everybody.
Good morning.
Good morning.
So we'll pick up where we left off after last week. I'll give a quick overview of the topics we're planning to go over this morning. If you can see the PowerPoint slide, really the first 4 items all go together. The introduction that I'm giving right now. I do want to take just a couple minutes to go over a little more detail and make sure we're all on the same page about the details of what the conditional zoning process looks like. We will review again the traditional and conservation residential development approval process, and then including recommended changes to that process. Item 4 is really the action item for today. We are looking hopefully for a unanimous vote from all of you about some of these process changes, so when we get to the drafting that we don't false start and we set this up the right way. So after we kind of get through items 1 through 4, hopefully on the same page, we'll then move, and I say I put 4, that's number 5, the action item for number 4. And then we'll take a few minutes before we break just to go over what the process would look like to get us from here to the end zone over the next 6 to 8 months. So that's the game plan. Expected it may be about an hour's worth. We'll see how we do.
Very good.
All right. Lisa, I guess if we could move to the next slide that actually shows the traditional subdivision or the conservation subdivision. Let's talk about the CZ process first, though. Okay, so last time we went over legislative decisions, and kind of the principle that we're trying to implement here is that the town council is the legislative body, and that really everything you all do in the development process ought to be a legislative decision where you all in fact have some discretion, that you're implementing the town board's policies. You have public input. Folks can lobby you, yay or nay on things. You all are free to discuss a very robust, open process, and that ideally everything that falls in your court in this development process is in fact a legislative decision, and that we leave the occasional quasi-judicial decisions for a variance or an appeal of a staff decision to the Zoning Board of Adjustment, and that we leave the administrative decisions where there's really no discretion and things should just be issued and reviewed and approved or denied, that we leave that administrative task to the administrator. So that was the theme from last week. When we talk about legislative process, what that really means in North Carolina is a CZ zoning process for any of these subdivision approvals that are going to matter to you. Okay. Now, to some extent, this is just a little bit of a wording change. Okay, and I've got this slide up. If you all look through what you currently do for the preliminary plat process for a conservation subdivision, that really is tracking the steps of a CZ zoning process. Okay, you have a staff review, including the outside agency review. That's all the work that goes in to a staff report that comes before you. The planning board is the recommending body. They review the staff and the outside agency comments. They review the plans from the developer, and they make a recommendation to you folks on the council. And then there's a formal public hearing at the council level where you get input from the public. And then ultimately the town council makes a decision to review and approve. And that really, that's a fast forward run through what a conditional zoning legislative process is. You can include, I'll say, formal process steps, like pre-meetings, like walking the sites, like doing sketches, all the work that kind of goes in from the private sector side and the local government side. But in the end, the legally required steps are the public hearing is a required step. The planning board recommendation is a required step, and the council making a legislative decision, ultimately voting yes or no on what the applicant has put before you, is the legally required step. So I just wanted to level set. We went over that quickly last time, but I wanted to put that in context. You all do things right now that walk and talk exactly like the CZ process. Does that make sense?
Yes, it does make
Yeah.
sense.
Yes.
Okay. Does anybody have any questions about the CZ process? How that would work? Okay. So let's pick up where we really left off at the last meeting then, and compare your current conservation subdivision process with what we are proposing as the new process. And at least I might pass to you here on this and let you walk them through again like you did last meeting, just to talk through the current versus the proposed.
Sure. It's basically taking item 4 from the top graph and making it the new item 3. So again, you guys are seeing the plans up front. We're not getting construction plans and preliminary plat. You guys are doing a site-specific development and approval through that CZ process up front. So we're going to do the pre-application meeting Applicant's going to give us a site analysis and yield plan, so we know how many lots we're working with. And they're going to do the on-site site walk, and then the charrettes. We have to say in what the plans look like. Then we're going to go to the staff review, the site agency
Hey,
reviews.
Lisa.
Yep.
There's a little bit, I don't know if anybody else is hearing it. There's some feedback and there's some echoing, and it's hard to make out exactly what you're saying. I don't know if anybody else is hearing it. You may want to go back just a little bit. I don't know if you're on a headset.
I did too. I've got mine on mute, and I think everybody's on mute to help with this noise.
Yeah, it was a little bit of, I don't know if it was a microphone. If you just want to go back maybe just a little bit and try again. It was a little difficult to make out completely.
Yeah, I turned down my speaker. Is this a little bit better?
Yes.
Okay. So again, we're taking number 4. We're moving it up front to this site-specific development plan, CZ zoning. We're still going through the pre-application meeting. We're requiring resource site analysis, topography, yield plan, and then we do the on-site visit where we're walking the site, we're seeing the open space that we want to plan around, and we go into this design stretch 4-step process that we discussed with Randall Arndt. We then move directly into the site-specific development plan approval, which is CC rezoning, so the vested, which includes the staff review, outside agency review, planning board recommendation, public hearing, and town council approval. I also, it looks like I forgot the meeting required between.
Okay, hey, go back just a little bit and say what you just said. There's still a little bit of background. I'm making out what you're saying, but go back where you said something about a meeting. You're going back from construction plans to.
Right, so we do the site walk. There is a community meeting that I'm missing out of this chart, but we go directly from that site walk and charrette to our site-specific development conditional zoning process. So you guys are seeing this up front. So staff review, oh, there's a community meeting right there. Planning board recommendation, you guys are calling for a public hearing. Town council is approving. From then on, it's administrative. So we do the construction plan review. They'll get their notice to proceed. They can start construction. And while they're doing construction, they can either bond or come through the same process and get their final plat approval, which is also done by staff.
So I'll pick up there just to highlight changes here, and let's kind of work backwards just to do it in reverse, right? So what would change is the construction plan and final plat. That becomes purely administrative, handled by staff, because there's no discretion at that point in time. So that would be changing your current 6, where you folks are currently looking at the final plats and approving them, even though there's not really anything to do at that stage other than to confirm everything is matching what was already looked at. And so that step goes away as far as some kind of big planning board council thing. So that will, in theory, save time and resources. But then what we're going to do is we're going to move all the work forward to the conditional zoning, where you all in the planning board should get everything you would ever care about, okay, should show up at that earlier stage in the process. And that's where, and it's my, no magic to this, but I'd kind of like to change the terminology. That's why you see it written this way, to the site-specific development plan. You all will see a plan. You all will write whatever rules need to be written. I mean, basically it's a joint process with the developer now, right? And the layouts, the open space areas, the road network, where there's connections, anything you all open space, everything is approved at that front end stage. And what that should do is give you it's going to give you the ability to negotiate and work on the project collaboratively at a time where it makes sense to do it, right? While the developer is early in the exercise, not at the very end. And so if it works well, you all get equal, or really my practical thought is going to be you're going to have more input this way, because you're going to be involved in the process sooner. So, to the extent there are particular things to negotiate and work through in a given case, this ought to be better for everybody.
Sounds great. That seems to make a lot more sense to do things that way to me. Then there's not as much indigestion for council and the developers when we want to come in and we don't like something that they've done. So I think it's a smarter way to do it. Very
Yes,
good.
ma'am.
During the construction plan phase, if they're
Right.
doing their flood study and their detention and something has to change and it's a major change, it has to go back through the process through you guys. So nothing is going to change from you guys approving the plan to final plat. And if it does, you all
It
get
has to come back. Okay.
Yeah, that's very good.
It
Does
sounds
council,
more.
anybody have any questions or any
No, I think it
comments they
sounds
want to
better
make?
for us to be involved earlier. Definitely.
Yeah.
Yeah, sounds like a better plan.
Okay,
Very good.
So Lisa, you want to move to the next slide? This is going to be more of the same. We'll talk about traditional subdivision process here. And this is all very close, right? You have a few less practical steps because you're not doing your process of trying to identify the ideal open space, right? So there's a little bit less to do here when you just jump to the more traditional bigger lots. But you'll see the identical theme here, okay? Is we move the CZ zoning process to the front, okay? And it really should look the same to you all, regardless of whether it's traditional or conservation, that they submit a site. I say look the same as far as process for you all, okay? Submit the plan and we go through the same things: community meeting, planning board recommendation, public hearing, decision from you folks, okay? So
Kevin, can I stop you right there?
please.
Currently, it's an administrative process where we're involving planning board and town council, and they really don't have a say. So we want to turn that conventional, traditional subdivision process into a legislative process if the council wants a say on a set of plans of a certain number of lots.
Yeah, let me back up because I can see from your comment, you're correct. I was not clear in my starting point there. The proposal is that the new process walks and talks a lot like the new process that we just recommended for conservation. Okay, so the changes we need to talk about is what size, what category of traditional subdivision goes into this CZ process, as opposed to something that's, I'm gonna say, small enough that would just be handled by staff. So if you can see the notes on the side, what we're proposing, and this would be worth just a little bit of discussion, is we're proposing that if you have a project that has 10 or more lots, you put it through the CZ process. And it, again, would look the same as the conservation CZ process. But if you were under 10, that we would go through just an administrative process on the theory that that's relatively easy. At least it might be worth, before they ask questions about that, to go one more slide and let you walk them through, make sure they've got in mind what the minor subdivision process looks like right now.
Sure.
Lisa, you want to lap them through that real quick?
Yeah,
Yep.
sure. Currently, our minor subdivision is 3 lots or less, where they do a preliminary plat that I review and approve, and then a final plat I review and the planning board approves. We would like to get rid of that planning board approval because, again, it's a checklist type of approval process where we're wasting a lot of time, their time and our time, writing staff reports, waiting for the meetings. And technically, again, planning board is not supposed to really comment or add conditions on a administrative process. So currently it's 3 lots or less. New process, we picked a number. You guys can have an open discussion about what you're comfortable, that doesn't have to go through planning board or council. Maybe it's just an adjacent property notification that this subdivision is coming through, and a notification to planning board and council. But it's administrative. So right now
And-
we're picking 9 lots or less.
Okay.
So if you guys want to say on the plans, we're recommending that it's a legislative process.
It's still by
Okay.
right. It's still by right, correct?
Well, so yeah, let's check terminology on that.
Are we not using that term anymore?
So not with CZ, okay? So the way to say it is either going to be by right and administratively approved, or it's going to be CZ and legislatively approved, is the way this would go. So the idea would be just to check that if we went with this recommendation, if you had an under 10 lot residential development, it would be allowed by right.
Okay.
If it is above say that again, just to be really thorough, an under 10 lot residential development following your traditional subdivision rules is by right. Greater 10 or greater traditional rules, conservation anytime through the CZ legislative process.
Kevin, can you give some examples of things that or kind of the difference in what the conditions could be with the traditional subdivisions versus going through the RCD? I think I know where Janice is questioning.
I'm just making sure that
kind of-
people have the ability to develop their property,
Right.
and the town can't deny people the ability to develop their property.
No,
That
but
was-
I think the issue is when you get some of these larger by right subdivisions that we've had going on right now, Janice, where we have a tremendous amount of water runoff, where we have some
I think we
issues
should.
going on. But I want to make sure that I understand that everybody understands what, where we're not going to be nitpicking where you have to do this or you have to do that. I mean, what kinds of
Yep.
what kinds of things can we legislate versus what we can't, I guess would be my thing, under this versus the RCD.
Exactly.
Sure. So let me go with an example, okay, and let's just go by categories, okay? So you can't, let me put the concern aside, okay? I mean, even in CZ zoning doesn't mean you all can do whatever you want, okay? It doesn't mean anything you all randomly come up with, all right? So
Right.
let me give you some things that you can't do. Let's start there, okay? Is you can't turn down a plan because they won't pay impact fees. Okay, you can't. Okay, I'm giving you. I mean, these are real life examples that have happened.
We'd love impact fees, but
I know you do. I know you do. But I mean, I'm going to stair step examples from easy to hard. Okay, so like if you said, "Dear developer, we'll approve this, but boy, I'd really like you to pay $1,000 per projected new student for the school districts." Okay, Karen and I are going to be saying, "Stop! No, not allowed." Right? Okay, that would be an easy one. Let me give you one that that gets maybe not so easy with a lot of people in the room, but it's legally easy. Is you won't build off-site road improvements further away from the property because it's congested. Okay, that's also
so we can't require a turn lane. We can't require a turn lane coming in off of a major, or a decel zone or anything like that.
You can require them for the driveways, road accesses into the project.
Okay.
But not down the street.
But not down the street, right? To exaggerate something here, 485 is crowded. We're not approving anything until there's 2 new lanes on 485. Absolutely not.
Right.
Absolutely not. Right turn lane into subdivision as determined by the NCDOT traffic study, absolutely fine. Okay.
Now let me just go back, because they're quite often, and I get indigestion quite often because I think sometimes DOT standards or projections may be we may I don't want to say they're wrong, but we may be a little more conservative with our desires than DOT. There have been times where we have wanted a decel or a turn lane, and DOT says, "Oh, it's not required." We're not going to require it. We have then asked the developer, and they have put it in. If DOT doesn't require it, can we still kind of?
So yes, you're talking about now the art of how this legislative process works. Okay. And if you have you've picked a really nice example for why early is better, right?
Right.
For sure you can ask, okay? And a lot of times, if everything is asked at the same time, you'll get a good bit of it, okay? So examples I have seen that you cannot put in your ordinance that we will require road improvements that are not tied to your development, okay?
Okay.
But you can talk about in the CZ process what's tied to your development, and at a minimum you're going to get what the DOT traffic study says. I mean, look, if your situation is that the traffic study says X and you ask for something a little bit more and the developer says no, I mean, in the end, you're going to vote on the plan, and I'd probably tell you to not turn it down over something that we don't have documentation for to back it up. Okay.
I gotcha.
But you're allowed, you're certainly allowed to ask. I mean, by the way, you could ask for the 485 improvements. Okay. The answer is going to be no. I mean, it's not illegal to ask. It's just silly to ask something like that.
I got a quick question on just some definitions.
Yes, sir.
We're talking about subdivisions. Now, just for example, let's say I own 15 acres here in town, and I come to Lisa and I go, I'm not going to be planting corn anymore. I just want to put a road in here, subdivide this thing off, and sell building lots. Versus if I come in as Callis Realty Incorporated and say, well, I just bought this 15 acres from Mr. Perryman, and I want to develop, Weddington Acres, and I want to put a road in and put signage up and subdivide this thing off, put curb and gutter in it. Are both of those considered subdivisions, or is one a subdivision and the other not?
Yep. So you've asked a great question, and I'm going to be. Let's talk vocabulary here, because subdivision, by the way, is a confusing word in my mind. or I'll say it's ambiguous, because I'm going to tell you that subdivision means two things in the English language. It means I subdivide the property, like cut it up into lots. Okay, so it's divided, and that's and so the answer to your question is yes. Both of those are the same thing. You're taking a 15-acre tract, and I'm subdividing it into other size lots. Okay.
Okay.
So that would be the same, that meaning of it. Now the reason why this is confusing is subdivision is also a synonym for, new neighborhood, right? I call my neighborhood the subdivision. All right. So I actually, on purpose, when I said it, I called it, and we've got the words this way, residential development. Okay, is the way we're intending to draft this. Okay, is that the act of subdividing and getting the plats, okay, is a administrative process, and you all are not really approving the quote subdivision under the dividing of the property from one tax parcel number into multiples. Okay,
Right.
that's not what you all are doing in this anymore. Okay, that map is administrative and just handled. Okay, what you all are doing is approving is one of two things. Either the zoning for the residential development is set ahead of time and it is allowed by right, okay, with no review by you all, because there's nothing for you all to review if it's by right is the right way to do this. Okay, or it is not allowed by right because it's a big enough impact on neighbors, and that while we're balancing property rights of the owner and the neighbors, we're going to have the more detailed legislative review of the council. So the logic of your two examples here, and that this is the split between, we're somewhat randomly picking the 10 lots as the number, okay? And I'd like to share with you my thinking on that and give you some multiple choices on that. But the answer to your question under the proposed new process is it depends if it was 10 or more lots, okay? Said if your example under 10, then it would be by right, handled by staff, and because all that would happen is you would do the administrative task of dividing it up. That administrative task would be hey, it's got to be split in a way that meets your pre-existing ordinance. But that's kind of it, okay? And if it was more than 10, it's going to go through the process. Okay. All right. Now, under your current rules, by the way, it's sort of the same answer. Okay. If it was bigger than 3 lots, more than 3 lots, okay, while you all are not calling it a CZ process, you are following CZ process steps like twice. Okay.
Right.
And this in the who or the how in your two examples doesn't move. I mean, there's no different answer there either. It's, currently the answer is it bigger than 3 lots or not? We're proposing to change it to 10. And then what you're really getting to is the mayor's question of what things can I turn a project down for, right? On one hand, if the property owner is overreaching when it's too much, versus what things do I really have to say okay to? And have we struck a right balance there where we're not stepping on people's property rights to develop, but at the same time, we're not creating a bunch of loopholes to get development that's not in accordance with y'all's preferred plans and what the neighbors have come to expect. So that's a long answer. Let me go back to the defined terms. What I would suggest we do is just decide that subdivision means the mechanical act of dividing lots into new tax parcels, and that we use the term residential development for the overall project, And then we can just now move to the discussion of how, what residential development are we willing to have through an easy, simple process that does not involve public discussion or council involvement at all, versus which ones do we want council to have their hand on the steering wheel. And that means the public has their hand, and the planning board has their hand on it as well. I'm gonna pause there, see if anybody has questions. What I'd like to jump to is, I'll give you some cuts that other jurisdictions that I work with and know, like how they make this decision. Okay, so there's no magic to 10. That's kind of a middling position on it. But does anybody have questions on what I just said so far?
No.
All right, so let me give you all some
I don't think so.
and I'll share this. Lisa and Karen and I have had this discussion. So let me give you some options for what folks do for by right versus CZ. Okay. The most aggressive, I'll say, that I know of, and by aggressive I mean the most that goes to a council. All right. So if you say, hey, are we asking folks to do too much? The most aggressive I know of is a municipality that is at anything greater than 3 goes through is CZ, period. Okay. So it would be the idea that your current cut at 3, we thought about everything that has more than 3 lots goes through the CZ process. So that is as far back as I would draw the line if where I would recommend to you. Okay. And that's aggressive in a way, because you only have, if you have more than 3 lots, you have to go through the council process. Okay. Now, let me say this. That's your current position right now. Okay. That's what is your current situation. And in fact, you make them do it twice. Okay. So even though you all are not labeling number 2 and number 4 of the current process as CZ, it is awfully close to that, right? I promise you, if we got in a dispute with somebody, us lawyers would be down there at the courthouse fighting over what type of decision is number 2 and number 4, okay? It would be confusing. That's the legal thing I'd like to get cleaned up for you in this, is to be crystal clear which category of decision. So, it's not like right now you all are particularly, if the idea was to give a property owner a fast process, that's not you. Okay. Now, does that make sense?
Yeah.
It's pretty clear.
Yep.
So can I ask a quick question in here? Is there a definition? Because one of the concerns I have, I guess, maybe is the 10 or more lots or 10 or more acres. We have a lot of large parcels in Weddington that are not currently developed. And so if somebody comes in and says, well, I'm buying 100 acres here, but I'm only going to put 9 lots on it, is that different in the process because of what could in turn happen later on? Or is that something we need to even be concerned with?
Well, if they only put 9 lots on how many acres?
Well, I'm just saying, 100, if you are buying 100 acres and you're going to buy 10 lots, you don't have to go
we would be
or anything.
I think we'd be thrilled if we had a neighborhood build 10 10-acre lots.
But you go back to the problem of now you have 10.
Well, they'll still have to come back to
be subdivided, again. And it's just, so is there something where we want to look at minimizing lots versus acreage, or put some kind of definition in there? If you.
So let me give you a couple other choices on that. Is, one choice is in fact the number of planned lots, okay? And then what you typically see a detail to kind of deal with the risk of somebody doing that multiple times to try to get cute with the system.
Right.
Is there is language in most ordinances that tries to stop that says, hey, if you come back and do it again, in some period of time, we're not basically don't get to do it, okay? Because you it's because it's quote the same thing. So
Ours is
I mean,
currently
you kind of create a little side issue there of what happens if somebody tries to get cute with it.
I think we already have that language, don't we, Lisa?
yeah, right now it's a 3-year wait before we can re-subdivide.
Yeah.
So that kind of feeling like that's being too cute with it, that's how that gets dealt with. But your choices are pick a number of lots, plan new units that triggers enough of an impact that you all want to see it, okay, or you think neighbors would want to see it. And whether that's 3, whether that's 10, whether that's 100, okay, that's one way to do it. All right. The other way you see is by lot size, okay, by density. So for example, in Mint Hill, the town I've worked with the longest, and I wrote their UDO where with their planning staff. The way it's handled there is the traditional subdivision, if you do the larger lots, doesn't go through the process at all, okay? But if you want to do higher, smaller size lots, it does go through a CZ process. So in your 2 categories, like probably the most generous, the biggest cut I would give you for by right, I mean, I think you all could consider anything that is a traditional subdivision is by right and doesn't go through the process at all. And the conservation subdivision, where you go smaller lots in exchange for the open space, does go through the CZ process. So that would be probably I'm gonna say the least amount of things that you all would touch if you went that far with it, right? And that logic is, I don't care what the total acreage is, or the total number of lots, as long as if they're bigger, I know my density and my impact is lower and is aligned with our area plans and the historic development and what we expect with our zoning. So, I mean, you could consider doing that. So in my mind, you pick a lot size that is acceptable with no further questions asked, or you pick a total number of units that's going to be developed. You do want to give, I mean, the legal basics here is something has to be allowed by right, okay? I think it's too far to say, hey, everything, no matter what, has to come through the CZ process. I don't want to land there. But
Lisa, isn't doesn't our density state our lot size? I mean, or is that just the density?
Right now, with Kevin's example in Mint Hill, if it's 40,000 Weddington acres, 40,000 square foot lots, in Mint Hill, because it's 40,000 square foot lots, there's no discretion, 10% open space, you got your roads, that would be by right administrative review. You guys wouldn't see that.
Which Lisa, wasn't that the way ours currently is written, but yet we put our hands all over it, like he said, in stage 4 and in stage 2, correct?
Right, so that's taking out that process, and now we're saying, okay, 10 or more have to go through that CZ process at the beginning.
But it's up front.
So what's that number that you're comfortable not seeing the plans? If it's a number of lots or size of lots, if all the lots are 3 acres, no matter what size development it is, everything's 3 acres plus, do you guys need to see it is the other option, or that whatever acreage, lots or acreage.
Say that again. I just have to, I'm visual. I like to see it. To hear it, I got to hear it a couple of times.
So right now, what's being presented is 10 lots or more has to go through the process.
Right.
So
I think what's throwing me off right now is the lot size. I think that's what's getting me is the lot
Well, we
size.
currently have R40 or conditional or RCD.
Right.
So right now you have the option of R40, 40,000 square foot lots, or you can shrink
Right.
them. In Kevin's
Right.
example for Mint Hill, those 40,000 square foot lots would go through an administrative approval process. There's no discretion.
Right.
You don't need to see it.
Right.
I don't know if you guys would be completely comfortable,
So the way Kevin's got it written is even R40, 10 or more lots will go through a CZ process.
Yes.
But it'll still be up front instead of us trying to touch it in number 2 and number 4. Is that kind of what you're saying?
Correct. Yeah, you're spot
Okay.
on. And so
And
it
what
was-
what is Marvin? What do our surrounding? What does Marvin have for their?
The surrounding towns are anything from 4 lots to 10 lots, but that doesn't necessarily coincide with process.
We've been touching it more than we have been touching it more than what our process says, correct?
We've been trying to.
Yeah.
Yes.
And
And
you're
that's
trying to make
that's
it
where
that
a lot of the indigestion has come in, is that it's
right.
changes are wanting to be done by council when they're in their final plat stage, and it's ludicrous
And that's
to ask
not
that.
and that's not
That's
right.
not right.
Yeah. So
Right.
Kevin saying
A minor subdivision might be 4 lots, but that's just saying it doesn't have to go through a construction plan process.
well,
A minor
I don't think there's probably anybody here that wants 100 acres, 3-acre lots to not probably see the process go and touch it. Am I correct?
Absolutely. Yes,
So,
for sure.
so that
Yeah.
probably answers the question that we want a CZ process for, even if it's a 3-acre lot. And we don't have that many large parcels left, but yet you still want to see the process. I just wanted to make sure that we couldn't say you can't develop your property, because I'm all about property rights, because obviously there are a lot of people I know that own property.
I think somewhere between 6 and 8 would be a number that I'm may be comfortable with, and again, not to just to be able to take a look. What was the size lots, Lisa? I mean, how many lots were in that initial one across from WCWA? You know what I'm talking about with the that had the power line and that whole those.
This never been done.
It was initially 9 lots. It's now down to 3.
Right. Okay. I mean, I think 8 may be a good number. Because that had 9 lots, and how many lots were on that off of Beulah Church? 6.
Yeah, around the same.
Janice, do you have any thoughts on?
I knew that we were at 3 lots before. And I know I heard Ann's concern, but again, I also knew that we had it covered with, you can't come back for so many years.
For so many years and re-subdivide, right?
Yeah, and re-subdivide it. So I knew we had that covered. I'm really okay with what they've got listed here, because I don't think we already have a process in place anyway. So I'm okay with 10 lots. I mean, Lisa's still got a process in place. It's just that we can't tell them, put your lots here. I mean, put your houses here.
Well, we don't tell them anyway. It'll just give us, it may give us the ability to ask for a turn lane. It may give us the ability to have a little bit more. I don't think the idea of the process is to ask for something that's unreasonable.
10 lots is not going to be that big of an impact to the town.
Well, that one, there was a heck of a lot of discussion and some indigestion over the one across from WCWA for a while.
Well, you're right.
And that's only 9 lots.
You're
so
right.
I just think, it's easier for us maybe up front to look at it and say, oh, this looks great.
But if it's 8
Fantastic.
lots,
Then
maybe somebody ends up making 2 lots bigger because they don't want to go through the process.
That's what I'm worried about. That's when I asked about the whole acreage thing, because I just want to, worst case scenario, somebody's going to go, I'm going to squeeze it in under this. And I know Lisa's going to be there. I know Lisa, has the right to come back and question it. So it's not like it's a free for all, but just to avoid having that happen. If we could, can you put in there, it's 10 lots and then in parentheses and or 10 acres or something like that.
But if you put the years in there, then that should eliminate. If you put that they can't subdivide this within so many years.
Well, there's 10 acres across the street from me that I would rather them not go in there and put 10 houses over there, because it'll ruin the neighborhood. And that if we don't have a strong enough HOA or covenants for our little development here, that's still going to have an effect on me, even if it is 3 years, 5 years, or 15 years later.
Yeah, but by right, they have the ability to develop that property.
I'm not saying that. I'm just having an overall sense of, I think we should have some say in it. Yes, you can sell your property, but you have to do it the right way. And if you don't limit acres on there, then you can run into situations where people can sneak in.
Well, yeah, they can take that 10 acres though and do a conservation neighborhood and put 5 acres in conservation or 6 acres in conservation and put
and still have the 10 and still have
the houses.
Yeah.
Right. So this is Kevin. Just practical advice here. This is a really good conversation over what cut is kind of enough to have an impact that we ought to have this extra special touch. But let me comment on a couple things. I would recommend against using a size of size of current property as the trigger for CZ or not. Okay, just I'm not familiar with anybody doing it that way, so that makes me a little uncomfortable to be on our own with where the cut line is. Okay, so while I hear the concern, I would move that concern still into let's solve for that by either picking a number of units, okay, or a size of lot, meaning density, okay. So one of those two is where I really need to steer you all. Where I'm flexible is, look, if you go all the way back to 3 lots, you will be tied for the most aggressive on the position of how much goes through CZ versus not, okay? And I'll expect to get at least people questioning whether that's too aggressive, because that's what happens with my other clients that are there. But it's right now, it's done. And so again, you could, the most that you keep your hands on should be everything that is not minor subdivision now comes to you through a CZ process. That's the most aggressive. The least aggressive, and again, I'm using the word aggressive for things that you all, meaning the volume that comes to you. The least aggressive would be everything that is currently traditional subdivision that you all just cross out the town council part of it in both steps 2 and step 4, okay? And say that our current rules, and this is what I need to, this is my main point. It's not a free-for-all, okay? You have current rules on the books. And the way to look at it is, am I satisfied with my current rules? And if I'm highly confident that the existing preset rules are going to cover everything that we need, then the best answer, both as a matter of reasonable property rights, for sure, efficient process, and this is good law, by the way, too, is that's what ought to be by right. I mean, there has to be something by right, and that something ought to be a category of things that you all are highly confident that the existing rules on the books cover you. And again, what it can't be, you can't write a rule that says there's no development because I rather have the trees, right? That there's a moratorium, and that if at the risk of being, don't want to be argumentative with the example, but the idea that, I don't want the property developed at all, that's in the category that's not allowed. I'll be jumping up and down about that if you say that at a meeting, the same way as I would about the 485 improvements. Okay, so there has to be something that's allowed. And again, just examples. Again, I'm gonna repeat myself. Like, I mean, Charlotte will allow that, 1/3 acre lots, and it'll just be the fastest process ever. Okay, so there's no small town that has as much by right as Charlotte does. When you go out to the towns, you tend to see things like lots 40,000 square feet or an acre are allowed by right, and we're comfortable with the rules, right? That is a cut. And then you see some places that go as low as 4 and 10, and I think don't hold me to this exactly. Like, I think like Gaston County might be like at 300 or something like that. Okay. So putting 10 here was really, my educated guess on something that I thought you all would be okay with. But again, if you want to drop 10 to 8 or 10 to 6, or if you want to say 40,000 square foot lots of, any of that would be okay. What I would encourage you not to do is say everything goes under CZ in the end.
And you're saying, Kevin, though, the reason you picked the 10 was because, again, we already have all the rules. And if we have the process already up front, we're telling them, and we're in the middle, we're in the process up front as a council, and we know what's going on up front. I mean, so we're involved immediately with how those 10, from anything that 10 and above goes.
Yeah, anything 10 and above, you're involved immediately. And the thought process is for under 10, there is
a process,
no risk. I'm right. I'm going to say that it's simple. That in meaning, I don't think it's a circumstance where you have traffic impact. Okay. I can't imagine for that an 8 or 10 lot single family development that you're going to get, any traffic improvements that are going to come out, right? It'll never trigger anybody's traffic study. This is the first example of, really, it's the first example of I've got some property, I want to subdivide it and see what happens. And if I can sell off the lot separately. Okay, so if there's no traffic, by definition, it's no open space, clustering, right? Because we're under traditional, right? And so my thought process was, there's nothing really to do legislatively here. But again, is there any magic to that? I'd give you the same answer if it was 8 or if it was, honestly, I'd give you the same answer probably at 20 or 25. Okay. So, Lisa, what's a traffic study trigger number? Do you know off the cuff?
I don't. Let me pull it up real quick.
I think it's, I want to say 50 for NCDOT, but I may be failing that pop quiz. But I mean, you all get the idea. The answer is yes to your question, that it 10 seems comfortably in the hard to imagine the issue zone. Now, again, Liz, you just gave an example of one that was 9, that there was. So, you know,
It was
Well,
across
and
the
you know,
street from a ballpark.
well, I mean, there was a lot of, and I think that's, I think that's just the point. Is there's so many, you know, and we've all kind of talked about this. You have to treat every piece of property. I mean, you can have a chart of rules, but every piece of property is so specific, and there's certain things that make them unique. And you know, so sometimes when you have a chart of checklist things, because properties are so unique and have varying obstacles, it can be challenging. So yeah, I'm fine with 10. I just, you know, I hear what you're saying with the traffic, and I don't know. I just, you know, 8 may just give us a little bit of eye on it and think, you know what, this looks great. No issues, no concerns. We're not asking for anything more. I'm fine with 10, but I just, you know.
I don't feel differently between 8 versus 10,
Okay.
by the way, just so we're clear. I'm not making that fine tune of recommendation.
It may be just kind of the double digit. I mean, I don't know.
Yeah,
It may
right,
just be 8 versus 10. I mean, who knows? There's probably nothing. And I'm fine with 10, you know, and I'm fine with that.
On the one she's
So-
talking about, it was going to be on the future Ray Road anyway. It just was across from a ball field, but it was going to be on a 4-lane highway. So, you know,
Well, and they had power easements. They had.
it was just a complicated. Yeah,
It was a complicated piece of property.
and
I
guess
think
what
that's
though?
the point,
It's not
is-
even. And it's not even being developed, and it's now 3 lots. So there you go.
Right,
I mean,
but
you know.
that's the point, is that it, you know, each piece of property has such varying obstacles. But 10's fine. I mean, I'm.
But the sad thing is, Liz, is on that property, it was like Lisa said, 9 lots. But oh my gosh, those people were treated from previous councils.
It was very difficult, and there's been a lot of processes. I mean, there's no doubt that whatever magic number we choose, going through the process is making these changes is going to make a significant difference. I mean, there has been things that
they needed
it just
up
didn't
front.
make sense. No, yeah, it didn't make sense. I mean, yeah.
The developer wasn't treated fairly in the 4 steps, and if it had been done up front, it would have been a lot less expensive for the developer. And this has been the process with, again, previous councils, like the way they treated some churches. So, you know.
Yeah. Well, so are we? I mean, we'll move forward with this. We could probably sit all day and talk about. So for now, we'll leave it with the 10 lot. I mean, I'm okay with it. That's fine. Are you good with it, Janice?
Yeah, Lisa, did you find the answer about the traffic study?
I did not.
Okay, but
Kevin,
you think it's 50?
Every development that comes in, I send to our traffic engineer, and they scope whether traffic analysis is needed, and if so, they do a scoping plan.
So we already cover it. We already cover
turn lanes for subdivisions like Weddington Acres, and there's 20 lots in there. So we've asked for them for a low amount, given the
well, it's the location where it is. It's in a tough location.
On Weddington Matthews Road, we've asked for turn lanes, and we've got them, and that's only 20. So
yeah.
Okay. Yep. So if everybody's good with 10, we'll keep it with 10 and go on with.
I'm good with
the rest of this.
I'm good.
Okay.
Okay. So we will.
Poor Kevin, go for it.
It's all good. Oh, Lisa, can we move? Are we may be ready to vote. Do we have the
Um,
slide? Do we lose the slide with the summary of the action steps?
I've got the motion and then I've got the timeline here.
Let's go to the, I mean, I'd be ready to go to the motion on the changes, and let me put a summary on the changes so we can be very precise, and give me a second because I've had it here. Hold on, let's see if I can do this. There we go. All right, so here is a quick summary of the recommended changes to the residential development approval process. All right. Residential developments of less than 10 lots with the 40,000 square foot minimum are allowed by right, meaning all the rules are identified in advance in your ordinance and there's no CZ process for those. 2, all other residential development, conservation or traditional, are allowed through the CZ process with a site-specific development plan at the beginning of the exercise. And that is the legislative council approval. And the logic of that for all other ones is that subsequent plats, example, the final plat that gets recorded for the lots, and permits are approved by staff as administrative, understanding, of course, that involves confirmation of approval with either the by right or CZ zoning that the council already approved. So that's it in a nutshell. So I think our ask is that you all confirm and vote to approve those changes. So we will write the UDO consistent with that direction.
Okay, so I will look for a motion to approve staff and legal counsel to go through all of the changes as just read by our legal counsel.
So moved.
All in favor?
Aye.
Perryman?
Aye.
Pruitt?
Aye.
All right. So we have authorized our legal counsel and staff to begin this wonderful process for the changes in our residential development process. Is
Excellent.
there, thank you very much. Are we gonna, Lisa, are you gonna, one of y'all gonna go through this timeline? Here, Kevin, are you gonna go through this?
Yes, please. Yes,
Okay, very good.
I will. And this is a proposed timeline and schedule of events. We can be a little bit flexible on this as we go. This is going to double as my commercial to you for why the Lisa, Karen, Kevin team is a lot better than hiring a consultant. So
I agree.
all right, so this ought to be, hopefully you all understand why this is the most cost-effective, high-value way to go when we're all said and done with this next few minutes. Okay.
Okay.
But before I run through these exact steps, I just want to give you the head. This is the work we've already done already within your last year's budget parameters. Okay. What we're gonna reminder, you all wanted the UDO project to streamline and simplify your own rules. And then we really got pushed because the state legislature adopt an entirely new, updated statute, the 160D. D as in dog, that you've heard about, okay? So what we're going to do is, while we write this UDO, we're going to comply with that new 160D simultaneously. All right, it's one exercise. And what we've already done, this has been the work for us to be prepped up to do what we've just done with you. We're intending to organize the UDO exactly the same way as the state legislature has organized 160D, okay? And 160D has 14 different chapters in it, okay? So they have identified 14 articles or categories, okay? So you're about to see reference articles 1 through 14. The reason for that is the state statute is set up that way, all right? So high level, what we're going to do, and Mayor, you asked at the very beginning, how can we show and be clear that we don't throw you 200 pages of stuff and you all like, oh my gosh, what's the same and what's different, okay? So what we're going to do, I'm going to fix that problem. What we're going to do is we're going to have a table of contents and organize the UDO with the identical sections that are in the state statute, okay? And what we will do initially, it'll be a rough draft. It won't be pretty and ready for showtime, but what we're going to do, it'll be easy for your review, is we will just do a cut and paste out of your existing ordinances, okay? And put the provisions in the right sections, okay? And so you all will know this is existing language in substance, and this is how it's reorganized, okay? So that might mean if you have a redundant section in subdivision and zoning, we might pick one of them and throw away the other one, right? But while we're at it, our goal will be to have a little chart for you that says, here's where the current stuff is, and this is where it landed. It either got discarded or it got put in this new section of the UDO, okay? So we've given a lot of thought already to the structure with an eye toward being able to demonstrate along the way and for posterity, if anybody wanted to ask, what happened to the existing stuff and what was just rearranged and what was new. Okay, so we'll get paid to do that well, but I did want to share with you that's our plan. That's what we've spent a lot of time giving some thought to, and it'll get organized that way. Okay.
Very good. That'll be wonderful.
All right. The other little benefit down the road, by organizing this 100% consistent with the state statute, is when the state statutes change, it ought to be pretty easy to come back and figure out where to make changes in your UDO then, right? If Article 7 of the state statute changes, we should go look at Article 7 of the UDO. Because what happens over time with the ordinances, and it's in part because of state law changes, and it's in part because of just ongoing text changes that come up, is right that you end up with these layers. I mean, it's sort of what we're doing now, right? You've got years of layers of things, and you end up with some overlap. So my hope is that we'll have pretty good staying power, and not only will it be well organized and comparable to the state statute to begin with, as things change, I hope it will minimize your cost and expense of changes down the road, if that makes sense.
Yes, it does make sense.
Okay. So that's a roundabout way of saying there's going to be 14 articles to your UDO. All right, and why? Not just because I said so.
Right. Well, that's awesome. It sounds right. It's going to be a neat end result, and I know I know Lisa is super excited about it.
Well, again, you're lucky to have. It's going to
make everybody's job a lot easier, and
it will. It will. Like I said, you all, we you're in good hands with Lisa. We're lucky to have her with her hand on the steering wheel on this, and she's got a good understanding of all this. I mean, for sure, look, she doesn't need my pat on the back, but I mean, this is going so well because she's really good at her job. So
Yeah.
That's how I feel about it. So here, let me run you through the bullets here over, and you all will track this. So the first two bullets is what we've done, right? We had the initial council work session, the information only, kind of going to the school and government class. And then what we just did, trying to be sure we don't false start and stay efficient with you and make sure we have consensus on this short list of policy changes. And so we've done all that, okay? Now we want to start a process of doing, reasonable chunks of the UDO and queue them for planning board review and input, and really get the planning board plugged in as we go along here. So what we'd like to do is kind of stair step this, that in August, the Lisa, Karen, Kevin team drafts Articles 1 through 6. And then come September, we start working on 7 through 9 and planning board reviews 1 through 6. Then we stair step into October. We start drafting 10 through 14. Planning board jumps to 7 to 9. Okay. And details that you all would have no way of tracking. I mean, I have made those cuts kind of on purpose. I think they're reasonable. The 1 through 6 will be, I think, pretty routine. If Lisa, we don't have that agenda the document from the first meeting, right? I think that overview has the table of contents on the last page. Is there any way we can get to that just so they can see it? Lisa, are you still there?
I am. I'm looking for it.
Well, I think I can stop. You see where we're kind of going with process, and then I would like y'all to see the 3 chunks, because the last chunk I don't think anybody's going to need to review. Nobody's going to care about it. It's just going to be copying existing stuff or referencing a state statute. I don't want to say nobody's going to care about it. There's not going to be any changes to anything in the last bucket. There we go. So we're just trying. I think Lisa said you all did that with another project where you kind of tried to get some reasonable chunks where we could expect the planning board, to give them something that's of reasonable size. See, 1 through 6, I would call kind of general provisions, general jurisdiction, what boards, staff role and enforcement, planning requirements, and then process. And this ought to all track a little bit my overview document that we went over the last time, right? So I would like to think 1 through 6 is relatively easy lift for the first one. The second lift, 7, 8, and 9, that's going to be the longest and the most difficult. Okay, that's all the substance where I know the planning board will want to slow down there and really be sure they understand and track. All right, these are the things we've pulled over. What's changed, what's not. 7 through 9 is going to be where the heaviest lift is. And if you ask me to anticipate, I'll say a delay or where some additional time might be worth it, it wouldn't shock me if 7 through 9 was something the planning board wanted 2 work sessions on instead of 1, as we see how that comes together. And then the rest of it is not really very material to you all, I don't think. It's in the end. I mean, we can, obviously everybody can look at it, but again, I'm not anticipating significant changes there. Is that high level making some sense?
Yes, it is.
Yes.
And then I'll finish with this. So the goal would be we take planning board comments and make updated changes off of anything the planning board says, okay? And we should talk about this, come November-ish, it's probably the quickest we could go, to publish a pretty good draft of this in draft form and just give a time period for public review without any big time pressures or what have you. But I mean, I'd be inclined to at least get that out on the website and let people know that this is kind of where it stands and see, and then get a work session with you folks to kind of take it from the top. Then come 2021, you have to, I mean, this is all extra process, just right. This is all just good business and what has to get done. Once we get to a final draft that all of us feel good about, then we need to do the formal ordinance adoption process, which would again include a formal public hearing. Now, I would suggest that we're not making changes in that unless we get surprised by something. I mean, I wouldn't even start that formal process until we had already done it informally, if that makes sense. So, look, it could take a little longer. November and December is obviously the holidays. If the planning board ends up needing a little bit more time, I think what will be a work in progress is how much change is there. It's not going to be much substantive change in a way other than the topics we've spoken about, but there'll be some just by necessity when you clear away some of the surplusage and the overlap. So I could see a discussion about, well, why'd you pick this version instead of another or something like that. So it may take more time than this, and I would be fine if it did. But Lisa wanted me to work through kind of fastest reasonable track, and this would be it.
Sounds good.
Okay.
Good.
It sounds great. I think we have some work ahead of us, but I think it's going to be great. And all in all, we'll get this buttoned up for Lisa and for future developers. And I'm sure people are, just condensing the process is going to be better for developers and people that are coming and wanting to build in Weddington. So are we at the point, Kevin, you've gone through your thing. Lisa, do you have anything you want to add, or are we ready to wrap this up?
I don't have anything.
Okay. All right. Well, Kevin, thank you for your work. And Karen is on there, I believe. Thank you for you guys and for all of your work, Lisa. I think this is a great start. And if council doesn't have any questions or concerns, I will look for a motion to adjourn.
Motion to adjourn.
All in favor?
Aye.
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 Very good. Thank you all very much. And we will be in touch soon.
Thank you.